Welcome to Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where we muse upon what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Today, we're going to talk about something that makes me happy and makes me very, very sad. It is the life of Robert E. Howard. Robert E. Howard was born in Texas in 1906, and he died in 1936. Today, he is best known as the creator of Conan the Barbarian. But there's so much more to his works. According to Conan.com, he wrote 400 stories and 500 poems. As we look at his life, we will also be sampling some of those works. This statue that I bought when I visited the Robert E. Howard Museum embodies everything that he wrote. You see, he's got the cape, boxing gloves, he's got the sword on his typewriter. When Robert E. Howard was pretty young, his family moved to Cross Plains, Texas. Cross Plains is a very small town. Even today, you will see how small it is, but very cozy and very friendly. This is a house that his father bought, which you can go and visit. Robert E. Howard lived with his parents in this house for the rest of his life. When he was about 9, he started writing his own little stories. He had a grand imagination. And as he got older, an avid reader that he was fascinated with ancient civilizations, different cultures, fantastical stories that he read in pulp fiction magazines like Fantastic Adventures, and especially Weird Tales. As a teen, he grew to love boxing and found it a good way to get out a lot of his aggression and his passions. Boxing was incredibly popular. And because of his boxing and the exercises he would do, he became very buff, very strong. But here, in his home, is where his passions took flight. On his typewriter, he began to write and write and write. Eventually, he started to get published in magazines like Fight, where he had the very popular character, Sailor Steve Costigan, the Iron Man. When I was at the museum, one of the historians told me commercially the boxing was what made him popular. He created Solomon Kane, as it says on this book, a legendary Puritan swordsman. Only he could come up with something that awesome. You do not mess with this Puritan. Another popular fantastical character was Cole of Atlantis. Robert E. Howard found out that he had some ancestry in Irish and Celtic culture. He even learned to speak a little bit of Irish. And so one of his fantastical tales were the adventures of Turlough Dove O'Brien. Dove meaning black. Sometimes he'll be called Black Turlough, a character from the 11th century, the outcast from Brian Boru's military. Very popular were his Western stories. He created Breckenridge Elkins. He also wrote poetry. Here's an example of one, Forbidden Magic. But in the midst of all of these fantastical tales that he wrote on his typewriter and throughout all of his success, Robert E. Howard was very melancholy. He was cynical about the oil boom that came into Cross Plains. He felt it brought corruption, the worst of men. Perhaps that's why he was so fascinated with quote-unquote barbaric cultures. Even though he had this comfortable home, within that home was his mother, who was dying of tuberculosis. Howard was a caretaker for her. He cared for her in this bedroom where she was slowly dying. His mother slipped into a coma. He was told she would not wake up. Here is where he's buried with his father and his mother. A few months after his death, his last Conan story, Red Nails, was published in Weird Tales. And so ended this bright young life. One can only imagine what he could have achieved had he lived, because his legacy in his short 30 years has produced this. Endless stories of Conan the Barbarian, written by Harry Turtledove, Robert Jordan, the writer of The Wheel of Time, and Steve Perry. There are comics, even being published to this day. A video game, Conan Exiles. A cartoon, Conan the Adventurer. And of course, the movies. Conan the Barbarian, Solomon Kane, played by James Purefoy, Cole the Conqueror, starring Kevin Sorbo. He passed away far too young, but his legacy lives on as he is considered the father of sword and sorcery. If you like wild tales of adventure, you have Robert E. Howard to thank. May he rest in peace. So there it is. There's Robert E. Howard. I'm going to be delving more into his writings, his characters, and the lore he created. In the comments, tell me what I got right, tell me what I got wrong, or what I may have left out. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, and be certain to raise a glass to the father of sword and sorcery.